How you doing, AJ?
This is Jordan. I'm Matt.
Good. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. So how did Ghost of the Ozarks come about?
Well, it came from an idea birthed in the Ozark Mountains. I'm from a small town called Bald Knob, and there were these vigilantes in the Ozark Mountains in the 1800s called the Bald Knobbers. And so as a kid, I associated that with direct fear. And really from that idea stemmed the short film that Matt and I wrote, and we brought Tommy Hobson and Tara Perry onto that. And once we filmed that, we were like, hey, there's a feature here with these characters. And that's kind of when we started writing the feature.
Yeah, so when I was watching this, I got like a folk horror vibe from it, especially with the Ghost of the Ozarks in that era. So did any folk horror kind of influence the writing of this as well, or is that just me that picked up on it?
No, absolutely. We really wrote it as kind of a fable, which really leans into that idea of the mysterious and into folklore. And we definitely kind of utilized all the stories from my father had some stories about his run-ins with big creatures when he was a kid, and several other people. And we really just kind of took those ideas and built off of it and built our own legend.
And I think like the actual filmmaking was definitely inspired by movies like The Witch, which is a nice folk horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we definitely had inspiration from there, yeah.
And how did the casting come about? Because you got David Arquette and you got Tim Blake Nelson, in my opinion, delivers my favorite performance of his in recent years. So how was it like working with those two on set?
It was great. I mean, we've worked with David a couple times before. We had known him for a while. We worked with him on 12-Hour Shift, the previous film that we produced. But this is the first time we'd worked with Tim. And I mean, we were all big fans of Tim, so we didn't know what to expect going in or how like careful we had to be around him. But he was always willing to be on set. He came in early.
Mm-hmm. And he learned, we built the bar that you see, that Torb's bar. And he really came in and made it his own. And he had prosthetics he couldn't see when he was on screen. And so he was really doing that without being able to see. And so he took lessons with a butcher to really like figure out how to safely do that. And, really made that bar his own. Tim really did a phenomenal job.
There's one specific scene in the rain that happens with him. I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but we had 2 takes of it. The first take we did it, the water pressure wasn't working right. Because we were using a fire
truck, yeah,
and it just wasn't quite right, and it was running out of water. And we did a second take, and Jordan was actually running the hose of the fire truck, and so he got it just perfect on that second take. And we ran out of water right after that. But the second take was so perfect, we were like, we don't need to do this again.
Yeah,
it's like amazing.
Him and Angela nailed it. We were so lucky.
Yeah, if it wasn't for them being such great caliber actors, we would have been in trouble. But yeah, they saved us.
And how did the casting come about from like the supporting cast, especially the lead actor in this was fantastic. So how did you guys find him for this part?
Well, Tommy Hobson and Tara Perry, they were in the short film, and we found them through a group of friends. We had Tara Perry in one of our short films called The Machine with Bria Grant, actually like a year previous to doing the short film. And when we asked her if she wanted to come out, she was like, hey, you got to meet Thomas Hobson. And as soon as we did, we were like, oh man, come out. And really once we saw them in the proof of concept, we were like, let's go. Like, and you're right. I'm really glad you said that, because he just did a phenomenal job for us. He showed up. It's great.
Yeah, and the parts were written for them, really.
Yes.
And Tara obviously was one of the writers, so she.
Right, but Tommy Hobson and Tara Perry were really the people we were bouncing it off of in the beginning, and Tara came on as a writer, and Tommy was always there to help us really tell his perspective, and we really needed that help. And so he was there from the beginning.
And another thing I wanted to highlight on this film was the costume design, because it could be considered a period piece as well, with it taking place in the past. So how did that all come about? Because they did an excellent job on this film.
Thank you for mentioning that. That's Brianna Quick and her team. And it was during COVID. We were one of the first films to get shooting during COVID and the first to finish safely. And because of that, they had to get the measurements and stuff in very interesting ways. So they were sewing Angela Bettis's like costumes 3 days before we started shooting. And that's how fast they were having to work. And so them knocking out of the park like they did, like, goes to show you like just how talented they are. I'm really excited for like where they go next and what we work on next with them. Thanks.
Sorry. Oh, go ahead.
And this was a really independent film too, so that had to be difficult finding the right costumes as well for this, not having that budget that, you know, Little Women and stuff like that would have from their period pieces. So that had to be another obstacle to overcome as well.
Yeah, I don't know how they did such a great job with what they had.
They did. I mean, we utilized smocks and stuff from like the people doing the mining, and like it's a lot of, like you said, AJ, like just creative indie filmmaking endeavor to make everything look fleshed out. And because of COVID, we didn't have a lot of extras. So in post, we got in our backyard and like became all the townspeople, and Matt does all the VFX that we need for the film as well. So like a lot of indie filmmaking.
Yeah, a lot of scraping.
Yep.
And one final question I wanted to ask you guys, well, with the ending that we couldn't get much into it without spoiling it for other people, just how did that ending come about? Because it came out of left field almost. So how were you guys able to deliver that ending?
Thank you. I got to give that credit to like, not like I was one of the writers, but like we have a group that we bounce the script back and forth off of constantly. And they really helped us figure out, you know, critically how to make this the best script possible and how to hide everything the way we wanted it to. And I really appreciate that, AJ, but that was a lot of people, a lot of writing people that helped us, you know, make sure we were doing it the best. We love that collaboration.
Yeah, and I think, you wanted to make it something that, you want to make it the type of ending where it seems, it can be a surprise, but it also doesn't seem out of character. Like, and that's like a hard balance, I think.
Yeah, where you can watch it the second time and maybe have a good time figuring out the breadcrumbs and stuff like that, which is really, really a fun part of the filmmaking process.
Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. It's been really fun, and congrats on the Ghost of Ozarks.
Thanks, AJ.
Thank you, AJ. It was great to talk with you.
Appreciate it.
Great talking with you guys too. Have a great afternoon.
Awesome. See you, man.
Appreciate it.